After Michael and Kyosuke both went through their interrogations, we met at my desk during the next break. Well, spell it. He started impatiently, like we were discussing an episode of a new anime. There's nothing to spill. I'm sure they asked you the same questions. What did you say? That I've never known Asakura. They shouldn't seem to have any enemies, but I'm not sure. That our class is pretty normal. Huh. Kyosuke replied, disappointed. What? You thought they'd go after me with extreme prejudice? Maybe you suspect me too, and not just Iwamura? I'd said it mostly as a joke, but Kyosuke became noticeably anxious. No, Nick, what are you saying? Kyosuke, really, this isn't a mystery novel. Real people have died, and police work is far more complicated in real life. I understand that, he said offendedly. But it's like you two aren't curious at all. What if there's a maniac hunting down our students? It's not Kagome anymore, I smirked. I'll ask my dad to get the details from the police. His father was some type of government employee in a municipality, and I strongly doubted that he'd have the authority to intervene in a police investigation. But I'm not going to tell you a word if you're not interested. What a pity. On one hand, Kyosuke's impulsive interest in the case was downright stupid, but on the other hand, what if I had reasons to worry about his life too? No, the idea that there was some maniac didn't hold up to scrutiny, but somebody had killed 8 boys and girls from our school. It did seem like we had a reason to think we were being hunted. Although I'd be more careful if I was you. Why? Well, you're the one making theories. Try to imagine why. Nick, don't scare Kyosuke. Seriously. I'm not scaring him, just giving him a warning. What if the victims also enjoyed reading Pulp Fiction, but had somehow managed to come across something important? I can hardly imagine Asakura being interested in anything except boys, fashion magazines, gossip, parties, and karaoke. Do you seriously think that? No, not seriously. I interrupted him. Let's stop at that for now. I'm still going to talk to Dad. If you want. Oh, hello. Who are you? They gave you a whole ass sprite, so you must be somewhat important. I love your hair, ma'am. Ah! She loudly exclaimed and jumped back and meet her. Sorry. I grumbled and was about to move on. Didn't feel particularly guilty. Wait. She said timidly and stared at me with pleading eyes. Is Asakura-san... Was she in your class? She looked down apologetically. Oh, don't tell me this is like a younger sister. Yeah, did you know each other? Not really. Okay. First thought was, what if this girl knows something about Asakura and Kawashima? Oh, what's your name? What class are you in? She suddenly started crying. What's wrong? I had enough dysfunctional girls in my life. Let's step aside. Took her firmly by the arm and pulled her away. Soon we were in the old school wing. The girl was all tensed up and looking at me warily. What do you know about what happened? You know they were killed, right? I mean, of course you do. The entire school is out there. How are you connected to them? What if she was also in their clique? Sorry, I don't even know your name. It's alright. The girl's smile looked absolutely inappropriate. She bore more resemblance with Kagome. Have they been picking on you? She moved her head vaguely as if trying to see something at the end of the corridor. Non-girl. Fitting target for Asakura's gang. I just have a friend, an acquaintance, except for because of them. If you did too, it helps us a lot. Although how exactly? She absolutely did not look like a murderer. The girl laughed, then cried again. At first I couldn't believe what the principal said. Sure, I wasn't friends with Asakura-san, but I never wished her dead. She finally got a hold of herself and started speaking normally. How many more children in this school are victims of bullying, I wondered. How hadn't I noticed it before? Why had this girl so easily agreed to follow me to a deserted location? Don't worry, I'm not going to do anything to you. I can see you're not like that. You know, when you say that, I let out a sigh and thought about what I was even doing and why. Are you from Ellie, Kobayashi-san's class? She gave a nod of confirmation. So you must know Kawashima better. I feel sorry for Kawashima-san too. Sorry, yeah. I obviously wasn't justifying the murders, but people die every second in this world, so I don't have time to feel sorry about all of them. In this case, however you look at it, at least some people felt better with them gone. Maybe it's for the better. For the better? I mean, so many people can breathe easier now without their constant attacks. No. Homie, now's not the time to be like, well, maybe it's a good thing they're dead. No. Even if they were assholes, they were bullies who were tormenting people, and like, sure, did they deserve some form of comeuppance? Yeah. But that doesn't mean you go around saying, hey, maybe it's a good thing they got fucking brutally murdered. Fucking Christ, Nikolai. Sure, I didn't always have easy relationship with Kawashima-san and Asakura-san. The girl suddenly frowned. But there was a whole life ahead of them. They could have changed in the future. Exactly. Yeah, of course. I felt ashamed and tried to quickly change the topic. You should feel ashamed. That's so fucked, dude. So what did you want? What? Well, you were looking for someone in our class. No, I just dropped by. Just? Huh? I don't decide. It's that interesting. Stereotypical bullies choose themselves stereotypical victims. Everything in nature, and thus in society, is determined by simple cause and effect with heredity and upbringing as their foundation. It's also simple, but does that make things easier for Kagome? For this weird girl? For me? Do you know Iwamoto by any chance? I asked without any real reason. Who? Iwamoto Kagome. She's in my class. Do I have the right to tell others about Kagome's problems, even if this girl had to deal with something similar? No, I don't know her. Gotcha. I sighed almost with relief. Alright then, sorry for dragging you all the way here. I was about to leave, but the girl stopped me. Did you know them? Who? Asakura and Kawashima? I was in the same class as Asakura. Would it sound weird if I said I didn't know my own classmate? Well, compared to this girl, it didn't seem hard to not look too strange. We'd never really talked, if that's what you mean. I see. Why do you ask? Just wondering. Just, huh? I repeated and froze, half turned to her, as if waiting for something else. The girl kept silent. Alright then. Goodbye. She smiled and went deeper into the old wing. Why? I spent some time standing in place, thinking about what had just happened. Sure, it'd be stupid to suspect this weird girl of taking out Asakura and Kawashima's gang. But there are obviously plenty of people here who, even if they didn't want them dead, weren't too upset about what had happened. Theoretically, if they all worked together... No, that's just stupid. I decisively shook my head and headed back to class. Who'd win, 10 Iwamotos or 10 Asakuras? Class was over and Himitsu was waiting for me at the front of the school. Nika-kun, I was so worried. That I'd fall asleep in class, drop my head on a pencil, and gouge my eye out? Hey! She pouted. A tragedy happened. One of the girls who died was in your class, right? Yeah, Asakura. I replied, trying to sound as indifferent as possible. Did you know each other? What am I saying? Of course, Himitsu was right, but that remark still hurt. Much like with Michael, sometimes you want for the truth to exist separately from yourself in some parallel universe. No, we didn't. Asakura, she... I was picking my words carefully. She was part of another social circle. Is that so? We were slowly walking home. Himitsu was silent almost the entire way, which made me start to feel uncomfortable. Our relationship had been far from perfect lately, but right now she was like an ex-wife forced to come to my parents' funeral and obligingly express some amount of sympathy. Did Asakura do that? Himitsu asked finally. Do what? Your door and the window. What made you think that? I wasn't even particularly surprised by her acumen. It's just a guess. What if she did? You don't think I killed them, do you? She didn't reply. You don't, right? I started getting worried. No, Nika-kun, of course not, I don't. Doesn't sound like you're sure. How can I be when you're hiding so much from me? I'm not. Fine. Even if I don't talk about certain things, why would you jump to that extreme? Not every 18-year-old with a few secrets can be a serial killer, don't you think? I don't know what to think anymore, Nika-kun. 10 minutes ago, Himitsu had looked genuinely concerned, just like that ex-wife, but now an expression of idle indifference seized her face. As if we were talking about something completely insignificant, just mundane stuff. And you won't even ask me if I'm in danger. I could, but I already know what you'd say. What? Everything's fine, sunshine, don't worry. She said mockingly. And in a sense, Himitsu was right. I would indeed have answered along those lines. I don't mean that everything's fine in the context of a normal person. Everything's fine in the context of my life. So you don't even want a normal life for yourself? No, that's not what I wanted to say. Damn it, you confused me. You've confused yourself, Nika-kun. Here you go again. What do you expect from me? I've already asked you so many times what's going on, and I always get the same response. Because nothing's going on, I responded unsurely. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Fine, yes, it was Asakura and her gang who painted over my door and broke the window. At least they didn't try to deny it. But why, Nika-kun? What problem did they have with you? Himitsu finally sounded normal again. Let's just say I decided I couldn't tolerate injustice. I wanted to tell her anything about Kagome, and I didn't need to. I'm sure their murder has nothing to do with that. Injustice? Remember Iwamoto? We saw her being bullied at the school gate a couple weeks ago. Iwamoto-senpai. Himitsu repeated without much emotion. I get tired of watching them pick on her all the time.
It's strange, Nico-kun, that you paid attention to someone other than yourself.
So you think I did the wrong thing?
I don't know, Nico-kun. It's your life.
Look, don't you think that's enough already? We approached my house and I abruptly stopped in the middle of the sidewalk.
Enough of what?
Acting like you don't give a damn.
Since when do you care about my opinion?
Since always.
Then you've been hiding it very well.
My reaction was apparently very strange because Himitsu suddenly laughed.
You should have seen yourself just now, Nico-kun.
But any reaction is better than indifference.
If you tell me everything without leaving anything out, you'll feel better.
I really doubted that, but the prospect of being left completely alone was even scarier. Kagome was suspected of murder, even if only by Ellie for now, but the police would follow soon enough. I was sure of that. And I was further from Catherine now than when she had been on the other side of the planet. Yes, I had a band to play in, but what did that matter when I was alone as soon as I stepped out of the studio? I need to think.
Fine, take your time. I'll drop by tonight. Still have a lot of things to do.
Alright, thank you.
For what, Nico-kun?
For being here. Himitsu smiled mysteriously. Asuka and Kawashima really did choose a terrible time to die. This is when things finally seemed to be getting better. I was walking back and forth, my mind busy, endlessly running through different scenarios of what could happen next. Even if the police suspected Kagome, she could easily have an alibi. Why hadn't I thought to ask her right away? And if she really did have one, then things were going to get even more complicated. Was it really easier for me to believe that Kagome was the murderer? To distract myself from those dark thoughts, I took the bass guitar and started learning the new songs I'd been given. I found an old book on solfeggio in the closet, which helped me to quickly grasp the basics. And that was just enough to understand the rows of symbols I had previously found illegible. It's interesting to see how a part of you initially found impossible becomes simple with enough practice. You just have to play it 100 times. It was getting late, my fingers hurt, and my back was numb from sitting in the same position for so long. I had to take a break, but I kept telling myself I'd play just one more song and then stop. I know that feeling. Probably wouldn't have played to the point of total exhaustion if the doorbell hadn't rung. The unexpected guest turned out to be Ellie. Thank you. I blurted out right on the doorstep. For what? If not for you, I would have played myself to death on my bass. Ellie, please come in. I was noticeably nervous and wasn't even trying to hide it.
I came for a reason, actually.
Here I was hoping you'd just miss me. I tried to make a stupid joke, but she clearly wasn't in the mood.
That's why your friend, Yumura.
Since when are we friends?
Sure seems like it from the outside.
Well, you know, I crossed my arms and walked around the kitchen. I told you, her father went missing and I decided to help.
Do you help every girl you come across?
She asked without any anger, but there was an unusual interest in her voice. Only the ones that need it. I grumbled in response.
Alright, what will you do if I say I need help? My friends have been murdered. Murdered by your friend, acquaintance, call her what you want.
I really don't think that...
Wait, I'm not done yet. Even if there could be any doubt after the principal's speech, her reaction?
How would you have reacted if you were her?
I'm not her, thank God. I've already told you that. I don't want to put myself in anyone's shoes. My own are problematic enough.
Fine. What do you think we should do?
We should at least tell the police.
I said, stuttering. Apparently she didn't have a plan. You think they won't figure out that Iwamura and your friends were on good terms without us?
Of course they will, but...
I frowned as if I was to blame for a lack of a plan to put Kagome behind bars.
I need to talk to my grandfather. Tell him everything.
Now that's definitely not a good idea. Especially after he had asked me to keep an eye on Kagome. You realize that your grandfather isn't a fan of half measures, right? What if she's not guilty? Do you want an innocent person to suffer?
Why do you immediately assume that my grandfather would do something bad to her?
To be honest, for whatever reason, nothing else comes to mind. I blurted out, but Ellie paid no attention to my tone.
I can't just wait. What if they don't find the killer?
She walked to the table, sat behind it, and folded her arms in front of her. How about we let the police do their work? I know I have no right to give you any advice. My friends weren't the ones killed. I still think you're better off thinking things through, so you don't do something stupid. My words made no sense. I was just doing my best to distract her from the thought of turning Kagome in. No matter to who, the police or her grandfather. Then I tried to put myself in Ellie's place. How would I feel if Kyosuke and Michael were killed and the main suspect was just smirking brazenly at me? Kagome seemed to be almost asking for the blame, regardless of whether she was actually guilty or not. To start with, we have no evidence.
Now, that's definitely the police's job.
So I actually do think they're capable of finding the murder weapon, collecting fingerprints, and figuring out the motive on their own? I asked half jokingly.
The motive here is as clear as day.
Don't be so hasty. Mutual dislike, bullying, sure. Maybe I wouldn't even be surprised if Kagome had splashed acid in Asaka's face. But 8 people, Ellie. 8. Do you really believe that Kagome alone could...
What if she had an accomplice?
Who? Her grandfather? He looks a century old.
How would I know?
Ellie snapped and turned away. I didn't want to continue this conversation. If I tried to keep arguing with her, she'd react like a spoiled child and do the opposite of what I said just because. I couldn't support your accusations against Kagome. For many reasons. So the only options I had left were sophistry and trickery. Let's assume you're right. Sunday evening, Kagome kills 8 people, then Monday morning she goes to school as if nothing happened, right?
Well, she's crazy.
I'm sure I wouldn't upset her if I said Kagome does have issues with socialization. But you're talking psychopathy now. Does she look like a psychopath to you?
Well, no. I don't know. Psychopaths can pretend to be normal. Those, what are they called? Sociophobes?
Sociopaths?
Whatever. Sociopaths. What's the difference?
Sure, in many senses, Kagome was in opposition to the existing social order, but only because she understood it well and had to adapt. So that hypothesis wasn't valid either. Sociopaths are often characterized by random choice of victims.
What do you want from me?
Ellie pleaded.
I came here so you'd comfort me, not to listen to a lecture about forensic psychiatry.
Really? In many respects, my experience with girls was limited. Yes, Himitsu and Catherine were hardly alike, but there were only 2 of them. Meanwhile, Kagome, and moreover Ellie, I didn't want you to think that I...
Relax, I was joking.
At that moment, I heard Himitsu's voice coming from the hall.
Nika-kun, are you not alone?
Damn it. She had promised to drop by in the evening. Was it evening already?
Nika-kun?
I looked at Ellie and smiled apologetically.
Nika-kun?
But Himitsu's appearance didn't seem to embarrass her in the slightest.
Sorry, I didn't know you had a guest. Kobayashi-senpai.
Himitsu lowered her head and seemed to grow smaller. All this excessive politeness looked silly, even comical.
I won't bother you.
She turned around, but Ellie stopped her.
No, I should be going anyway.
Sorry? Himitsu almost shouted and ran away.
What's the matter with her?
It's a long story. Where do I even start? Is she She started by immediately waving my hands, not letting her continue. Oh no, we're just friends. Childhood friends. Been living across from each other for 10 years, so...
So what?
I pretended to interrogate me. So that's it.
Alright, I'm glad.
About what?
About the fact that you've normal friends too.
Words made me feel awkward. Himitsu is almost like family to me. In fact, now after my parents' death, I have no one closer than her.
And you've been like this all this time? Alone?
Yeah, I've gotten used to it.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said all that.
She jumped up from the chair. It's alright, no worries, really.
In any case, I think you're right. I'm not going to tell Grandpa anything for now.
Thanks for that.
And don't forget, we have rehearsal on Wednesday.
Rehearsal? I thought you'd need some time to, well, you know. I paused like she was asked about something totally unexpected and then gave me a sudden cute smile.
I got used to it too. See ya.
Got used to what? I didn't have energy left for anything today, and at just 11 p.m. I was soundly asleep. Okay, interesting. But see, that's the thing. They keep saying, like, oh, you can't immediately point fingers at Kagome. That's the thing you did last time. You said, how could Kagome possibly have kidnapped Ellie, right? How could she have done that? How could she have, gone through all the bodyguards and their big mansion and just kidnapped Ellie out of the blue? How could she possibly have done that? But then there was an answer, wasn't there? The new day started unusually early for me. I got up determined to learn why Kagome was behaving like she was. That desire was motivated by fear for my own well-being after Kobayashi Jun's request to keep an eye on her, concern about Kagome's fate, and suspicions that had arisen after my conversation with Ellie. Was I really suspecting Iwamura? When you've eliminated the impossible, then whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth, right? But if anything, relationships follow the laws of quantum mechanics, where the event is inseparable from its observer. If I were to imagine that Kagome really... The image of Charles Manson kept showing up in my mind's eye, the inappropriate comparison with Iomura making me smile, albeit blasphemously. I spent a long time washing my face and, in the end, decided to take a shower. I made several butterbroads for cheese with breakfast. Why don't the Japanese eat butterbroads? I remember that when I was little, they made up most of my breakfast and dinners. Sure, normal sandwiches offer more variety in terms of filling, but the beauty of the Soviet cuisine is in its simplicity. A slice of white bread with butter and sugar can be a great substitute for a cookie. Rye bread, which you can't find anywhere in Japan, with sunflower oil and salt makes for a fine snack. Sushki, baranki, bubliki. Bread is the stuff of life. I mean, I won't deny that bread doesn't slap sometimes, but, like, it was still pretty early, but the employed population of Tokyo was already rushing to work for whatever reason. Everyone on the street appeared especially unfriendly to me today. Of course, they couldn't know that only yesterday 8 innocent students had been brutally murdered. I mean, you'd think something like that would make the headlines, right? I feel like something like that would make the headlines and people would know. Right? Like, 8 high school students brutally murdered. I feel like that would make headlines. I feel like, yes, a good portion of at least, the local population would be like, oh shit, guys, did you hear what fucking happened? Although surely it wasn't a record high for Tokyo's daily crime stats. Really? Really? I still feel like that would be something that stands out. Like, I'm guessing, like, I mean, maybe in the 80s with the Yakuza and whatnot, but sure. I'm sure there's people turning up, dead, people getting murdered, fairly high numbers. Tokyo being as big of a fucking place as it is, sure. But at the same time, 8 high school students turn up not only dead, not just dead, but brutally murdered. I feel like that makes headlines. I know the exact numbers, but what did it matter anyway? Statistics show everything about the life of a population, but absolutely nothing about the life of an individual. I was one of the first to come to school. It felt a little strange sitting in an empty classroom, and at some point I felt a strange anxiety swell up in my throat. Dozens of completely unbelievable scenarios started to play out in my head, one after another. There were the 2 detectives from yesterday accusing me of the murders. Then there was an armed squad from Kobayashi Corporation breaking down the door and shooting everyone dead. Then a meteor fell to Earth, right on top of our school. When the first yawning students started to appear in the classroom, I felt somewhat calmer, and even started a meaningless conversation with a few, even though I rarely talked to anyone but Kyosuke and Michael. Kagome came right before the bell rang. She didn't look much like Charles Manson's daughter, at least outwardly. I confidently approached her during break and said determined, "We need to talk." "Sure." She shrugged and stood up.